Okay, we are recording. The next topic of discussion is discuss human love and divine love and something to nothing.
All right, so again, this is a very similar topic to that we have already discussed, that actually what we call human love and divine love. Human love is just an enslaved form of divine love. And this word love has been so much misused that, you know, sometimes we tend to even use other words as compassion and oneness with everything, because as great masters have said in the past, do things unto others that you would like to be done unto yourself too. So this is the divine love that we speak about, which, if we expand this statement that has been just said, it means that because you know that there is only the self alone, whatever you do it to the self, and because you are the self too, you do it for yourself. Therefore, out of compassionate act, you wouldn't do something to others that you wouldn't like to be done to you. This is the divine love. And another issue of, you know, how this divine love hardly ever gets fulfilled is because of seeing oneself and the other, and as long as there is one and other, human beings tend to superficially overlook the fact that it's alone the self that is real, and everything else, as nations and languages, are just means to this final union. Because if you want to do whatever in your life, if you want to get married, or if you want to have children, or if you want to build something, or if you want to destroy something, there is one thing you really should know, and if you know this thing, certainly everything becomes just very easy for you, is that whatever you do, if you are aware that you want to do every single act within the human experience as a means for final liberation, and you get married to get liberated, you want to have children to get liberated, you want to eat that food to get liberated, you want to drink that drink to get liberated, you eat you write to get liberated, you dance to get liberated, and when liberation becomes your very essence, then, you know, all your path will just arrange itself towards it, because that is your new reality. So in human relationship and, you know, human love, but in general we can speak about human relationships, that the main issue of these human relations are that we see oneself and the other, and therefore we see also that there is a relation, that there are two participants, and there is something different than just the self itself. And therefore we can say that there is a kind of entanglement in human relations, because there is one partner who might think something about the other partner, who then feels the feelings of that partner, that then creates the reaction of the partner, and then we enter this, and these kind of human relations are not necessarily liberation based. Now, how we can convert, again, simple human love, which sometimes is very much object concerned rather than just bliss concerned, one can do the following visualization, which is to realize that this form there are two ways actually to do this, and both of them you see that get to the same point. So one thing is to do that you see no dweller in this form, and no dweller in the form of the partner, whether it be a friendship, a love relationship, a parent relationship, any kind of human relation. that you see that there is no dweller in this form, and there is no dweller in that form either. So just seeing these two forms as some walls that have no dweller in it, seeing the skin as simply a wall, and this wall just is there, but merely is there without any dweller in it. So if one sees oneself as empty, as free space, certainly one will realize that all the others are also just free space. Now the question arises, how can two free spaces that don't have human intellect whatsoever, but they are just existence, have any kind of relationship? Because then two non-existent things cannot have an existent relationship. So one realizes that relationships too are just empty free spaces devoid of qualities, and you can say that the relation is still there in a way because you still have these forms, but the same way you could say that there is no life actually in a corpse, so thinking that a corpse is a living thing would be nonsense. The same way, saying that between two non-existent things there is relation is the same thing with a corpse and its life, that it has already gone. So just seeing this, one frees oneself from the burden of this relation and that relation, and rather everything just expands to this free space which has no support. And what does it mean that it has no support? If you think about the outer space, the universe, it is just a big free space and it has no apparent support. It is in itself, it doesn't need any support from below that holds it. The same thing is actually with minds and forms and relations, that they're actually just in this, floating in this free space, but in reality they are themselves free spaces, so they are not different from this free space. And the other way to do this, how you can change human relations into the nothingness, is seeing that everything is the self, everything is just existence, consciousness, bliss, and certainly one thing cannot have relation with oneself, because you yourself don't have a relation with yourself. It is just you there. There isn't any relation to that has to be founded. It is just there, simply like that. The same holds to any kind of other relation. Just see everything, the rock and everything as the self, and again everything expands into a big existence, consciousness, bliss, which is non-different from the free space, which is just bliss, existence, and consciousness. And then again, one transposed this human experience into this divine experience, because there are no longer objects for which you can love somebody else. And it is not even that because this love others thing has become so forced. You have to love others, rather, and it becomes so forced, especially when people look at each other and they see one another so differently. They can say that they love one another, but very few times does it really happen that two beings really see one another as just pure love. And that is when, for example, nations and languages just fail and they can just drop, when there is only pure love and intuitive understanding about the nature of the soul, which is non-different from the spirit, which is beyond creation. If that happens, all the issues of the planet are resolved. There's nobody to love, because it is only the self which is in compassion, which is compassion itself. Then compassion itself prevails above itself, as we can say it like this poetically, that it is just there. It resides and dwells in every single aspect of creation. And in that point, divine love is there, and there is no human love, because human love can be as long as there are humans. But if you become the self, you are no longer a human. You don't have a so-called mind, because it is also dissolved in existence, consciousness, bliss. And there is no mind to think with. There's only the intuitive experience of it is what it is. So there is no more human being. It is just the self there, devoid of qualities, just being there as oneself. And there is no more human love. There is only divine love. And of course there's acceptance, because in that state of absolute thoughtlessness, people, you cannot even think about acceptance or rejection. These things only are in the domain of duality, that you can accept things and you can reject things. But when you're in absolute oneness and nothingness, there's nothing to be accepted, there's nothing to be rejected. It is existence itself. If you accept it, if you reject it, it just stays there. It doesn't need an opinion. The same way you become, and at that point when you don't need acceptance and you don't need rejection, you just are there, and whatever may happen around you in this world, for you, it doesn't make difference if you are accepted or rejected, because these again are in the domain of duality, not in singularity, nothingness. And in nothingness, there is no choice. There is only the thing that is there, the self, and that's very much it.